Several years ago, Symantec declared that antivirus is dead, and Gartner said that we should change our focus from prevention to detection and response. Probably not news to anyone in security, since the effectiveness of traditional AV had been in decline for years. But for a lot of businesses, it left them wondering, how on earth were they going to protect their endpoints? The endpoint remains the most vulnerable part of the enterprise, and the vector most cited is the conduit used for attack. Now in 2016, we've seen a big spike in ransomware attacks enabled by smart phishing exploits that blow right through traditional endpoint defenses, proving that enterprises have to do something to diminish the risks posed by their endpoints. I'm Bob Bragdon, publisher of CSO, and today I'm joined by Rob Cheng, the CEO of PC Pitstop. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Rob, how do you see malware detection today compared to where it was 5 years ago?
It is a lot worse, and I think the malware detection is the same, but the threats are escalating very quickly, and that's why we see the ransomware. The ransomware is the first one really, where you can't remediate post-infection. Before that, we could always clean it up, but this is the first time we can't clean this up.
Let's talk about application whitelisting software. How's it different from blacklisting software, and why is one better than the other?
Okay, so blacklisting is really trying to keep track of everything bad that's out there. And I think that we're seeing the flaws in blacklisting right now. Perhaps the largest one is someone must be infected in order to get on the blacklist, so there will always be infections. Also, we have polymorphic viruses, we have advanced persistent threats, so they only need to attack and infect one time to reach their goal. So the blacklist is ineffective against all these things. The whitelist is actually the opposite. It's trying to keep track of everything good that is in the world. And if it's not on the whitelist, then it will go. It will block that from executing. So that defeats polymorphic viruses. That defeats ransomware and advanced persistent threats.
So there are pros and cons to whitelisting, and this may be one of the reasons that some organizations have shied away from it. What's your approach for handling the false positives, and how's it different from other methods that we're seeing out there?
Right. I mean, there are lots of whitelisting solutions out there, and all of them pretty much have been unsuccessful because of false positives. So the reasons why the competitors' whitelisting solutions, also called application control, have been unsuccessful is related to the false positives. First off is that they have a lot of them, and then the second one is that the responsibility for fixing the false positives is on IT as opposed to the company who made the software. And so therefore a lot of people have tried these whitelisting solutions historically, and they've pretty much given up. So ours works very differently. We have a very low rate of false positives, and then we manage a global whitelist, and whenever something is blocked, and to figure out whether it's good or not, it goes to our researchers, and we maintain the whitelist for all of our clients. Now, also on top of that, if IT wants to go and override the whitelist to do things a little bit more expediently, then they can do that as well. But that is the default. So therefore, it's very easy to install our product and to get up and running and be more secure. Quite often, the whitelist approach of our competitors takes over a month and a lot of time and effort by IT.
As I mentioned up front in 2014, both Symantec and Gartner said that we need to approach endpoint security differently. Do you believe that's true? And if it's true, then do you feel like the traditional anti-malware vendors have just given up on endpoint security?
Yeah, I think we're going to look back at that period of time as kind of a misstep that we made in our security, and we're seeing the results right now. I think that what they were saying back then is that the blacklist of endpoint security, that has failed us, and it can no longer keep up with the threats of today. And rather than give up on antivirus, I think the right thing is to give up on the blacklist. And that's what our product does, is that we protect based on a whitelist rather than blacklist. And I think ultimately all endpoint security products will be based on a whitelist rather than a blacklist, and that we'll be able to get. I think the key message here, and we're seeing it with the ransomware, is that technology is so embedded in everything we do, to our hospitals, our government, our school system, on and on, that, I mean, security is really important, and particularly on the endpoint.
So is that really the reason why we see most businesses kind of failing when it comes to defending against ransomware?
Absolutely. I mean, they are what's happening, and actually ransomware is coming in primarily through email.
Right.
And then what happens is somebody double clicks on that, and then what's supposed to happen is your endpoint security is supposed to stop it from executing, but it is executing almost all the time. And so that is the big hole right there, is in the endpoint security.
What do you think the next step after ransomware is going to be? Do you have an idea, any thoughts on that? Like where you think this is going to evolve to?
To the bad guys, or from our
For
perspective?
the bad guys.
I mean, they're still really evolving the ransomware. I mean, the FBI reported in 2015 that $20 million of ransomware paid. That number jumped in Q1 of 2016 to over 200 million. So they've made a lot of money. And they are using a lot of that money to make their product better. And so and we're seeing it for all the stuff. I mean, they're getting more sophisticated. Ransomware is not polymorphic, so we can easily see them becoming polymorphic. One of the big ones is that they still have one ransom per computer, but by operating system. They're not doing that. So if they get a server, they should really charge more ransom for that.
Oh, don't give them any ideas.
No, but really, honestly, they're going to figure this stuff out. I mean, giving ideas. I mean, this is capitalism, I guess, at its worst. Is that, I mean, they're investing in it. They figured out a way to make some money, and they want to make more. And so I think they're going to be polymorphic. I think we're going to see more breaches, because what they need to make feed their engine is lots of good email addresses. And so that's why we're seeing all these, hacks and all this stuff of all these places, because they're looking for more and more email addresses. And then, polymorphic viruses, they actually, not through email, go through an exploit, a vulnerability on the computers. They haven't started doing that. They're just doing a little bit now. But you can see this easily escalating so that it is, far, larger than it is today.
So we really need to step up our endpoint game.
Yes, we need endpoint security. We cannot spend all of our time just trying to detect and respond to these problems. We have to prevent it from happening in the first place.
Rob, thanks for joining us today and sharing your insights.
Thank you. It was nice to meet you.
You as well. We've been speaking with Rob Cheng, the CEO of PC Pitstop. My thanks to you for listening in. For CSO, I'm Bob Bragdon.